Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. It all started out so innocently one lonely Friday night. Out of sheer boredom, I opened up the Tinder app on my phone to casually browse and half-heartedly swipe through the endless lineup of cheesy single women with cliched bios, all desperately selling access to their premium Snapchat channels or Instagram OnlyFans for a limited time. But tonight, just as I was about to close out the app feeling the usual abandoned hopelessness setting in, an unexpected alert flashed on my screen. A new super like from a mysterious woman named Jane who apparently took an instant, proactive romantic interest after meticulously going through my profile. Genuinely shocked, I eagerly tapped into her photos and bio details, skeptical it wasn't yet another scammer bot playing cruel games. But Jane seemed to actually check out as an intriguing, real potential match. Crystal clear photos displayed a naturally pretty girl around my age beaming under the warm sun, her long curly brown hair perfectly framing the friendly gleam in those striking blue eyes. Absolutely radiant vibes. In her bio, she described herself as an introverted bookworm who also loved being outside hiking, doing yoga in the park, baking cookies from scratch, and most endearing of all, laughing at silly puns and slapstick humor. Literally, nothing stood out as remotely controversial or suspicious about this clean-cut prospect. Just an approachable, down-to-earth young woman I had very much envisioned instantly clicking with immediately in person. My interest was clearly sealed from the initial profile browse. When this gorgeous Jane then sent me a sweet, thoughtful message right off the bat gushing about how she absolutely loved the photos of me volunteering at the animal shelter, I felt an unexpected jolt inside my chest. This stunning girl had chosen to single me out, had proactively pursued and flattered my most heartfelt passions first, over the endless superficial competition from cocky finance frat bros and stringy-haired hipster men likely flooding her inbox every waking moment. The intense rush of validating adrenaline instantly surged through my veins. Maybe finding an authentic soulmate through online dating apps designed to fail average guys wasn't completely rigged against me and hopeless after all. When she suggested we exchange personal cell numbers to continue getting to know each other better in a private space, I eagerly provided my digits without an ounce of hesitation. We effortlessly texted back and forth over the next few days, excitedly covering common interests that astonishingly never seemed to end. A creeping part of my brain reflexively kept trying to tamp down my exponentially snowballing emotional investment. Every time Jane sent me additional authentic selfies displaying those same girl next to her freckles, scattered playfully across her cheeks, word I was yet again falling for a carefully orchestrated trap I catfish out for male attention and adoration. But I repeatedly forced myself to silence that familiar embittered voice, determinedly convincing my strict logical side that Jane had provided me zero rational reasons thus far to doubt her identity or intentions. All 20 candid snapshots she had texted me captured that very same naturally gorgeous minimal makeup look and casual upturned nose piercing I first swooned over from afar on Tinder. They simply displayed her enchanting essence from a spectrum of slight angles depending on natural lighting or wherever she had ventured each day. My chronically suspicious side begrudgingly had to admit it seemed like a completely consistent portrayal of one legitimate person so far, nothing more or less. So when Jane later brought up finally meeting in person for dinner downtown at a trendy new Indian fusion restaurant all her friends were raving over, I couldn't physically type yes fast enough in my eager reply, fumbling the phone from between my admittedly sweaty palms twice in excited anticipation. My fairy tale, romantic, meet-cute first date moment I had completely given up all remaining hope of ever finding again in this deliberately demoralizing digital dating era. Felt suddenly so close now I could practically taste the exotic spices from the Baba Ganoush appetizer we planned to split. This was it, my golden opportunity at a fresh start with an incredible woman. And I refused to let relentless past pains sabotage my present possibilities of new love again. Not this precious time. I was an absolute bundle of frenzied nerves the entire week leading up to my highly anticipated dinner date with Jane. I must have changed my outfit 5 times the actual night of, fussing endlessly over wanting to strike that perfect effortless balance between sharply dressed yet approachably casual. I knew deep down Jane would never be so shallow, but still First impressions matter big time, especially when you feel you found that mythical spark with someone exceptional. When I walked into the dim mood lighting of Taste of India restaurant right at 7 p.m. sharp, I immediately scanned the intimate tables with thumping heart for Jane's smiling face I now knew so well from all her photos. But surprisingly, not a single person seemed to remotely match the curly-haired girl who had completely captivated all my recent daydreams. Slightly confused, but not wanting to jump to conclusions, I explained to the hostess I was meeting someone and would be seated already. I texted Jane I had arrived and would hold down a high-top table at the bar while her ETA. That's when a phantom figure suddenly materialized in my peripheral vision, lurching towards me with a little too much misplaced familiarity. Oh my gosh, hey, it's me, Jane. The rail-thin, sickly pale girl gushed in my direction. I struggled to hide my dismay as she came fully into view beneath the flickering fog candles. The manic, sunken eyes were indeed bubblegum blue under the thick, smeared makeup. But this Jane bore absolutely zero resemblance to the one engraved in my mind who I thought had an effortless, wholesome beauty. No, this Jane looked strung out and unclean, patches of grease and grime blatantly clinging to the stringy, unwashed hair falling sloppily from her failed attempt at a trendy, messy bun alto. And why did she oddly smell like a pungent mix of spoiled milk and thrift store mothballs from several feet away? My devastation and shock at her completely mismatched appearance must have instantly registered somewhere on my frozen first date facial expressions. The girl's eager smile faded as quickly as it came as we stared speechlessly at each other for a few awkward beats. Oh wow, you totally thought I'd still look like my photos, didn't you? Jane squeaked out, visibly deflating by the second. I mean, yeah, I guess those pictures I used on my profile were from a couple years ago when I still kinda had my life together. But I swear I can still clean up nice when I try really hard. Tonight's just been super chaotic, and her voice trailed off into uncomfortable silence again, eyes desperately scanning my face for any glimmer of hope or positivity. Finding none, her bloodshot gaze dropped to the floor. Mortified for her, I gently encouraged we could still grab dinner as new friends with no expectations. But Jane was already inconsolable, tears streaking her smudged eyeliner as she kept repeating apologies under her breath, making a hurried beeline for the exit without looking back. I couldn't stop replaying infinite hypotheticals over why Jane felt so trapped into catfishing me in the first place. I should have known it was too good to be true when David's opening line on Tinder wasn't crude or overtly weird. He seemed genuinely interested in me for me. Not just my rack or rear like 99% of the other matches flooding my inbox each night. When he casually asked thoughtful questions about my job, my interests, even my pet rabbit Marshmallow, I felt amazed someone on this sketchy hookup app wanted anything besides a quick roll in the sheets. Over the next few weeks, David won me over with his refreshingly respectful move at a snail's pace, in no rush to meet yet never lapsing between warm check-ins daily. He was sweetly old school like that, insisting we establish real roots before risking souring something so promising over superficial factors like physical chemistry. It's all the stuff epic romances are built from. My mom's warnings about online stranger danger started to seem foolish now. So when David finally asked to go out in person, I joyfully agreed. Something casual first, of course. We'd simply chat over steaming lats at the new cafe near me, his treat. I spent way too long perfecting my makeup and curls as though this was a full-blown dinner date. But can you blame me? After so long banished to disappointingly creepy Tinder bros and embarrassing catfish, Prince Charming himself wanted to ride up on his white horse at last. My girlish daydreams galloped even more out of control seeing David smiling by the coffee counter, unfairly sexier than all profile photos let on. When he pulled my chair up politely with a soft kiss on my burning cheek, the hours flew by like blissful minutes. We mused over everything under the sun, favorite films, college misadventures, political hot takes, even the meaning of life itself. When he abruptly had to depart for night class, however, my heart deflated like a leaky balloon. I didn't want our enchanting first meeting to end, the promising thought of yet clinging in my dizzy mind. That's when he dropped the question. Could we risk turning this coffee huddle into a proper dinner date tomorrow night instead? Elated butterflies soared violently inside me again, until a second later when an unfamiliar lady I'd somehow overlooked by the window abruptly screeched David's name in blood-boiling fury from across the room. Confused, I glanced up to see a stereotypical Karen stomping over in a huff, expensive heels violently assaulting my eardrums. Her meticulously styled blonde bob swayed menacingly with each anger-fueled step. Oh, this had bad Lifetime movie plot written all over it. Who the hell is this? Huh. The woman spat with cruelty, waving manicured red claws in my petrified face. Did you follow this girl here, or did she actually convince herself your lies could be real? David instantly raised his palms defensively, shame and panic battling furiously for dominance across his rugged features. He stuttered through a jumbled introduction of me as a friend, and her as his live-in fiancée Melissa, together 5 years. My vision instantly tunneled to black at the edges. This had to be a sick joke, right? But Melissa erupted even more volcano-like, seeing straight through his worthless excuses about me being nothing, just slightly insecure female attention he was stupidly addicted to. She then whirled her fiery outrage back my way, promising I'd deeply regret seducing another woman's loyal man with my pathetic pick-me-girl act. All oxygen vanished from my woozy lungs as reality crashed down with her vicious words. How had I let this total fraud so easily hurtle my every emotional boundary like some sappy CGI fairy tale? I wanted to vomit oceans remembering how intimately I gushed to David about past abuse, strained family ties, even lifelong dreams of adoption after modeling the graceful parenting he described so tenderly. This scummy sociopath now held all my deepest personal keys meant solely for a forever partner, and he had passed them right onto the shrieking banshee without blinking. The following weeks were pure agonizing hell. Incessant shocking rumors and harassing cyber threats flooded every device and account as this Ms. Crazy Eyes made good on her public warnings if I didn't stay far away from her deceitful baby daddy. She had easily turned almost everyone against the clueless, man-stealing other woman through strategic lies and pity plays. And those former allies now despised my forsaken existence too, spitting literal dirt with each slut-shaming stone cast my way across campus and social media. I eventually had to abandon entire communities and comfort zones just to feel safe from the former ghost named David, now forever haunting every shadow. My fault for ignoring blatant red flags, apparently. But how do you accurately spot warning signs when cunning wolves dress so convincingly in flawless sheep's wool? When I'd so foolishly forfeited natural human defenses for desperate scraps of counterfeit affection and intimacy from the ultimate undercover predator, a master manipulator disguised on lying as the nice guy of my dreams. If only happy endings after swiping right existed beyond clever clickbait and Hollywood delusions. But real-life villains don't conveniently develop consciences overnight, and this real-world Cinderella was left with nothing but the shards of her defective glass slippers after the spell catastrophically shattered. Prince Charming riding to glorious rescue was cynically scratched out forevermore by cruel handsome's charming words etched mockingly into fragile skin. Online dating as a newly single career woman seemed like an obvious route to take in this tech-dominated era. But as the app started blurring together into one sleazy college of men urgently demanding photos of my body before even asking my name, disillusion set in hard and fast. I was on the verge of deleting every lusty profile forever when I stumbled onto a highly rated new app catering specifically to young professionals seeking something real. The refreshing no hookups allowed policy gave me a glimmer of dangerously eternal hope. Maybe not all romantic watering holes had yet been poisoned by sharks and fishing leeches after all. After entering exhaustive compatibility filters to weed out Ron from sales looking for his disposable Monday girl, I came across Samir. He was an IT consultant at a prestigious research company downtown. His bio boasted of Ivy League degrees and eccentric hobbies like medieval battles. He described himself as an old-fashioned, nice guy drawn to a woman's intellect and company over superficial factors. Samir's hooded eyes even sparkled behind those thick hipster frames in his photos. Against my better judgment, cautious fate lines started etching themselves across my open palm once more. Things felt promising. Samir asked thoughtful questions about my latest graphic design projects and how I first fell in love with bold artistry. Our text banter flowed freely, more philosophical debate over cappuccinos than superficial quips about the weather. He made me feel instantly at ease gushing to a total stranger about childhood traumas, religious disillusions, all my secret passions. In return, he shared vulnerable dreams of leaving cutthroat corporate servitude to instead open a nonprofit teaching code to underprivileged kids. My heart stirred witnessing true goodness still bravely striving to survive and thrive in 2022's increasingly cold, isolated reality. So when humble hero Samir asked to finally meet for dinner that upcoming Friday evening, I couldn't mash the yes reply button fast enough. The following week inched by at an agonizing crawl marked impatiently on the calendar. Would our kinetic emotional bond alchemize even brighter in person? The big night arrived in a flurry of fluttering nerves and countless outfit changes before selecting a casually confident look. Samir greeted me in the Mexican restaurant foyer with a polite hug, his sport jacket and loafers making my skinny jeans seem underdressed. But his eyes smiled approval at my trademark wild curls and handmade quartz crystal necklace. As we were seated, Samir tripped over himself, pulling out my heavy wooden chair, just like those charming tea men. Another promising box checked off. Conversation flowed freely as carafe after carafe of sangria loosened us up. Samir's riotous Slack channel mishap slayed me in endless giggles. The heady joy bubbling out felt foreign after so much time isolated in icy grief. I decided to ignore the occasional condescending eyebrow raise whenever I shared a personal experience Samir deemed frivolous or clueless. Nobody's perfect in the end, I rationalized, but this was still light years more promising than the best man encounter I could have envisioned. The worries gathering at the edges of euphoria took a wrecking ball to the gut during dinner's final fateful moments, though. When a harried waiter accidentally spilled some sauce remnants onto Samir's sleeve while refilling waters, the seemingly even-tempered gentleman morphed hideously before my bulging eyes. Vicious curses flew from his snarling mouth faster than anyone could clean the tiny stain. Samir continued loudly berating the now trembling college kid, trying desperately to pacify him in broken English before the manager hurried over horrified as well. From arrogant name-calling and violent threats, my illustrious date moved on to virulent racist assumptions about the boy's immigration status, disgusting food hygiene practices, and overall intelligence. Every hateful, entitled word landing like acid to the face awoke me from stupor. Who was this soulless, raging beast wearing my soulmate's skin like a monster masquerade mask? The entire restaurant stared outraged or avoided eye contact in thick discomfort. My feet itched to escape while I still had shreds of dignity left. But something far more sinister lurked behind Samir's returned tight smile my way once the manager finally escorted the humiliated waiter towards the kitchen safely away. Well, that was rather unpleasant, my dear. But no bother, let us enjoy the rest of our special night now, yes. Before I could form words responding to the deranged 180 tonal shift, Samir briskly snapped his fingers inches from my nose to sharply gain back my horrified attention. Server. He then turned to me with an alarmingly calm smirk. Be a doll and kindly pay the bill tonight, since chivalry entitles me to your gratitude for selflessly ensuring dinner transpired smoothly as promised. Every atom in my body revolted in unison. This disturbed hypocrite literally robbed a young minority struggling to survive daily of basic human decency mere moments ago. And now he somehow believes rescuing our disastrous date from himself earns heartfelt compensation. Samir's entitled hovering for his due in return sent me over a final rational edge. Without a second wasted on this lost cause, I discreetly slid my car onto the check holder and escaped through the kitchen past a still recovering busboy. The cooks ignored my ungraceful exit once noticing tears betraying resilient efforts. I arrived safely home still nauseous from leftover panic and heartache. Sinking into the couch finally liberated horror movie visions of Samir's soul-piercing gentleman mask haunting forevermore across my vulnerable skin. But relief proved agonizingly brief. My phone immediately exploded in a non-stop barrage of Samir's apoplectic voicemails and texts. How dare I abandon him without showing adequate gratitude for his precious time and efforts planning an otherwise flawless, exquisite evening in his esteemed honor. Paragraphs filled with deranged narcissism and violent threats flooded every device until I blocked Samir's number and profiles in numb survival mode. So much for fairy tales with storybook Prince Charmings in 2022's increasingly sinister reality. No more glass castles or noble suitors left standing after vicious wolves strategically shatter them first behind fortressed smiles and rehearsed deception. If this was the actual dating pool future ahead, No amount of targeted algorithms could calculate or sustain a woman's fragile chance at finding love anew. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.